Good evening, viewers, and welcome to this edition of NTV Sports Page. It's Friday, 20th May, and I'm Curtis Morton. In our headlines, Kezi stars on day 2, and in our feature for this evening, we go back to the archives. We'll take this break, and I'll be right back.
Data collected from the various census is used by the Ministry of Education to create geographic location pointers, such as school locations, school district boundaries, numbers of students in different age categories, and other data to support spatial analysis. As Junior Minister with responsibility for education, I encourage the entire populace of Nevis to participate in Census 2021. It's me, you, us, 2021 Census, #Be Counted.
Well, I'm back, and we start with cricket. The Leeward Islands female cricket team is preparing for the upcoming regional female cricket tournament. After practice matches in St. Kitts, 5 Nivigans and 5 Kittitians have been included in the Leeward Islands squad that will have trial matches in Antigua this coming weekend. The Federation selectees are from Nevis, Melissa Clark, Saneldo Willett, Ashina Freeman, Roselle Liebert, and Tishani Reen Wallace. Out of St. Kitts is Lachnie Cyril, Tinetta McCoy, Davana Claxton, Melissa Drew, and Kishana Huggins. The young ladies will travel to Antigua tomorrow, Saturday, 21st May, and engage in 2 trial matches on Sunday, 22nd and Monday, 23rd of May. Those selected to the Leeward's team will go on to Guyana, where the regional tournament will be played from June the 5th to the 22nd. Of course, we wish them all the best. Meanwhile, on the field of play, the 4th regional encounter between the Leeward's Hurricanes and Trinidad and Tobago is building up into an intriguing contest. The Leewards have so far dominated the first 2 days of the contest. On day 1, Nivision Kyron Powell starred with a superlative century, and on day 2, it was the turn of another Nivision, Colin Kezi Archibald, to star with both bat and ball. Archibald made a quick-fire 21 when he batted, a knock which included huge sixes off the bowling of Windy's Pacers, Jaden Seals, and Shannon Gabriel. When Trinidad batted, despite a shove resistance from skipper Joshua De Silva, the home team was bundled out for 140. Kittitian Jeremiah Louis followed up his excellent knock when he batted to undermine the top-order batting of the home team with a 4-for. Archibald soon got into the action and ended with 4 wickets of his own. The Leewards opted to bat a second time instead of sending the Trinidad team in for the follow-on. Summarized scores: Leewards 357 all out, Kyron Powell 139, Jeremiah Louis 42, Casey Carty 31, Terence Ward 26, Colin Archibald 21. Jaden Seals bagged a 5 for 49, Gabriel Charles, Hussein Karaya, and Mohammed 1 wicket each. Trinidad and Tobago bundled out for 140, Joshua De Silva 65, Brian Charles 25, Colin Archibald 4 for 27, Jeremiah Louis 4 for 32, Walsh and Berridge 1 wicket each. Leeward's second innings 23 for no loss at the end of day 2. In the other matches, Jamaica versus Windwards 137 all out, Jamaica 346 all out, Brandon King got 119. Preston McSween picked up 4 for 96, and Josh Thomas 3 for 56. Windward's second time around at the end of day 2, 101 for 3. Devon Smith 34. Kevin Hodge was not out on 30. The Windwards were trailing by all of 108 runs. Guyana versus Barbados. Guyana made a mammoth 490 for 7 declared. Tajina Ryan Shandapal 140 not out. Moti got 110. Akeem Jordan picked up 3 for 108, and Raymond Reefer 2 for 37. Barbados at the end of day 2, 48 for 2. Brathwaite was already gone for 17, and Mosley was not out on 17. Barbados was trailing by all of 442 runs. Well, let's take in this Kyron Powell interview that he did after he would have made his century.
Kyron Powell, magnificent 100 today to lead the innings for your team, Leeward Islands Hurricanes. Tell us how it felt. What was your plan going out there?
It's a new ground to us. Obviously, we've never been here before or played here before, so we just had to assess conditions, see what the pitch was like, see what the ball was doing, and it was really hot as well. So you just had to factor that into trying to keep Trinidad in the field as long as possible and capitalizing on the back end of the day.
Lost early wicket in the innings, and then Casey kind of built a little bit of a partnership with you. But then when he fell, what was your thoughts in terms of rebuilding the innings with the Hurricanes?
Well, we've got a pretty good team plan. I think we played some good cricket in the first 2 matches as well. I think only 1 innings we haven't played that we've gotten over 300 runs. So we've been doing a good job as a batting unit. So I'm not worried about if we lose quick wickets or not, because I know that somewhere along the line we'll have a few partnerships and consolidate, which we did today.
100-run partnership with Amir Jangu. What was the discussion like out there?
It was just a matter of Jangu getting in. Obviously, the Trinidadian boys wanted to put a lot of pressure on him, obviously being a Trinidadian himself. But once he got in, the field sort of spread and it was easy to score. So it's just a matter of just assessing, getting in, giving yourself the best chance possible and making up at the back end.
How good does it feel to score a century?
Very good. That's what batters play for. Still disappointed though. I think I missed out on some runs on that pitch, but happy that I got a start with the resumption of the season, and hopefully I can take it forward from there.
300 on the board for Lewd Island Hurricane. How promising is that for you all as a team in first innings?
It's very good. We always aim to get at least 300 in the first innings, so I think that we're probably 2 wickets too many down at the moment, the position that we're in, but I think we'll take 300 at the end of the day. Hopefully the 2 batters in, both of them are very capable, so if both of them can carry on deep into tomorrow, try and get up to lunch, even after lunch, and try and get 400 on the board, that would be ideal to give our bowlers a lot of time and freedom to bowl at the Trinidadian batters.
We'll take this break and I'll be back with our feature for this evening.
Being fit makes me stronger and healthier and make my life better, easier. Being fit is beautiful.
Well, I'm back, and tonight we feature From the Archives, the special interview done in 2014 with the late Honorable Van Zambri. The distinct privilege and honor to speak with the Premier of Nevis, the Honorable Van Zambri, but I'm not speaking to him in his capacity as Premier of Nevis. He was one of the top cricketers that ever came out of Nevis, and as a matter of fact, in the Leeward Islands and the West Indies. So I say good evening to you, Mr. Premier.
Yes, well, thank you very much, Curtis, for inviting me to speak to you. Sports is a strange thing. You play it when you're young, and after you're older, you do what somebody advised us, retire gracefully, the things of youth. So I appreciate talking to you and reminiscing a little bit, I'm sure.
Speaking of which, let's start from where it all started. Nowadays, we have primary school cricket. I don't think they had an established primary school arrangement in terms of competitions. What was established then when you were growing up?
Well, most of the formative years was played at the Gingerland Junior School with Teacher Frank, Teacher Aldane, Teacher Verney, those guys, some of whom played cricket Teacher Frank played cricket for Nevis. Mm-hmm. And they encouraged us a whole lot to play a lot of cricket. Those days he was the softball, the wind ball, mm-hmm. in the schoolyard. And occasionally we would play against a team from Zion or go over to the senior school and play. But that was really the extent of the competition. That's not true. We would invite people in from the villages to play against us. So that was really our beginning years, or my beginning years as a cricketer. But it was good fun to be playing in the schoolyard.
So who taught you the basics? Because watching you over the years, one of the things I love to admire was that movement across the crease, especially to the fast bowler, that right foot starts to move across. You were getting in line very early. Who taught you those basic concepts? Who was your mentor?
Well, that came a little later, but initially I learned quite a lot from Halliday, playing with him for the St. George's cricket team, and from Ed Atherton. Ed Atherton was one of the best coaches, but he was a hard coach, very rigid, very, very hard, and he always insisted that you must cover your stump. I had a weakness where I would plant the left foot forward and always get caught at slip, And it took me a little time to really, improve upon that skill, to cover the stump, so you don't have to play when the ball is outside of that left foot. I learned that and practiced that a lot when I went to Barbados to play I played at the university, but played with the Spartans Cricket Club, with David Holford, who was a West Indies player, and with Peter Lashley, who was an accomplished player, never really, went on to do the kind of exploits which is obvious talent warranted. And Lashley played in the very early years of West Indies cricket as a very young person. And I noticed, as an opening batsman, we played together, he would always move his back foot. He was left-handed, he would move his left foot. And I thought, there must be something in that. So I began the process of doing that. And this would have been in 1971 when I went to Barbados. So I think it worked well. And as I spoke to more experienced cricketers, that was an important aspect of the technique of an opening batsman. Some people don't do it. They move their left foot and they perfect the art. But when you come up against very quick bowling or bowling where bowlers can seam the ball and move it away, it could be detrimental. And I think that is where a number of our openers have not really mastered the art of really playing, since Greenwich. And if you look at Greenwich, the same thing. Look, Desmond Haynes, the same thing. Those guys in those latter days, they developed that skill and became very, very good players.
So from the primary school, you went on to the high schools. How did your cricket develop, and who helped you through that to those years in high school?
In the high school, we played a lot of house matches. But there was one teacher, MSK, you'd have heard of Merville Curtin, who was the schoolmaster but also the sports master, and he played with the team. And then but in the school itself, we played a lot of inter-house matches, what they call house matches, and I played a lot and we always played in the afternoon after school. We never went to play in the daytime because our schoolwork was important. So after school, we played until close of the day, and that was the way in which we trained. There was one player with whom I played and whom I admired, Desmond Didi Doe. I don't know if you remember that young man.
Something to Zumbai?
Solomon.
Okay.
Solomon, they call him King Solomon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he and I played and we opened together.
So he was that good?
Desmond was quite a good player.
Okay.
Jeffrey Dorr, Zumbai, those are some of the guys with whom we played. Tony Carty. And I remember when my inclusion in the school team came when I was about 13, 14. I'd gone to school. The school was playing a game against Brownhill, against St. John's Cricket Club. And one of the guys didn't feel that he should play because he had been failing all the time. So they called me out of the classroom to go and play. So I was playing cricket actually in my blue shirt and my short pants and my school, whatever shoes I was wearing, for the first day. And so that was the beginning of being involved in island cricket. Yeah, playing, for the school against Brownhill. But the good thing is I batted number 11. Number 11, and I remember Harold Walters bowling, Harold of our top spinners, and making 15 not out.
Wow.
Might have been my yeah, but I batted at number 11 again because I was not part of the original team. I think Herman Liebert, the attorney Liebert, he was the sports master at the time, and he slotted me in then, even though in all the trials and all the preparations, I was an opening batsman. But again, a bad wind didn't blow. I got my inclusion. Well, you might call it in an easy way. Easy way because I batted number 11, and you don't expect much of number 11. But I think I had a little
class with it.
A little something, which enabled me after that to become
A regular part of the team.
opening batsman for the team.
And in those days, so that the general public would know, when a school team played, let's say against St. John's, it was like schoolboys playing against big men.
Yes.
I think that needs to be
Yeah, well,
pointed out, you know?
because at school you were about 16, 17. There was no sixth form, so you were leaving school at maybe 17. Maybe one or two might have been 18 if they started later. But we were actually playing against a big team, players who would have played for Nevis, but there was no mercy given. We had to really fess up, and school teams were considered then as a walkover. But as time developed and more cricket was played in the schools, both at Charlestown and then later at Gingerland, then the school team developed some very good players, very capable players, and became the feeding ground for the other teams and the island team. Some players actually went directly from the school team into the island team. Somebody like Jeffrey Doe, played. You had other people like Dr. Hull, who was a pretty good leg spinner, and before him, I can think of what's his name? The name eludes me right now, but he was a very good player. But a lot of players came from the school team into the island team because they were looking for young talent and so on.
Speaking of the island team, when did you make that big breakthrough? At what age, and who recognized that this guy has some special talent?
Well, I played for Nevis first in 1966, but before that I was playing for the island team in inter-island competition with St. Kitts. We would play a game, I think, in 64. I played first in 64, so I was 15. When we played, it was an unofficial game. And
what number you batted then?
I opened then.
Wow.
Because that was perhaps the only thing I could do. Really, I couldn't, so I was an opener for Nevis in that inter-island game. We played, I think, during the summer, the Easter time. And it was a warm-up for the competition. But by 64, 65, I was having examinations, so I didn't really play then for the island. So 66 was my first full year as an island player.
And how well did you do that year? Do you remember anything that stands out? A fast bowler who maybe came a little pacey?
I got bruised and battered. Ted Hobson was the captain. We played against St. Kitts, in St. Kitts, if I remember. Yes, in St. Kitts. And that match was something of a...
Wow.
Well, it was war, but the difficult thing was the pitch was wet. And we were, in a way, pushed to play on this wet pitch. The pitch had spots, so you had some dry spots, wet spots. And we were playing against one of the better teams. St. Kitts was a good team. You had Hicks, and even now people still tease me because in that match you got hit, because the pitch was so wet. When the ball hit, the mud came before the ball, and we made only, I think we made 29 or 30 in that game, Nevis, with all of our players. And St. Kitts, didn't do much better because we had a very good bowling attack. And we had them, and we dropped a few catches, but I think we were able to hold on for a draw. In the second innings, I batted for a long time, but got really bruised and battered in my ribs. Those days, there were no helmets. You hardly had, proper finger, gloves. There was no breast protection. We never played in leg protectors and those kind of things. But it was a learning experience. It toughened me up. I still get teased by people in St. Kitts that they think that Hicks is my father, as they say it, because I get battered and bruised so many times. But it helped us those days to be tough. Well, everybody played under the same conditions. And then my first year in Nevis was 1967, and I got hit really bad because I was a compulsive hooker. And Hicks bowled this same full toss, beamer, and I hooked and it hit the back of the glove and dropped right in my forehead. You'll see I have a sunken spot in my forehead, but I survived.
And those days, beamers were legitimate. Do you remember?
Well, you could bowl it. You were not taken off and told you can't bowl again because they assumed that you didn't do it Deliberately. But if you got hit, and the thing was you should duck. But I was a compulsive because once it came above the shoulder, I thought I could hook. Yeah. And I paid the price for that by being hit flush in my forehead.
Your most outstanding innings representing Nevis. You could think about that? Lewd Island Stone.
We've played some. We've played some. I think I look back, even though I made some hundreds, I look back at one innings against Antigua in 1985 or 83. And I chose that year because the year before I had batted here in Nevis in the last innings and the late hours, and there was this big fast bowler from Antigua who was swinging the ball. He never made West Indies team, I don't think he did, but he was really swinging this ball. And I played and for nearly half an hour couldn't make any runs and got out for naught. But I had said that was my last year. I was 33 and I said I would retire. I had made that decision. But then the following year, we played against Anguilla. Nevis, I wasn't playing then, I went to Anguilla. And Anguilla almost beat us because the guys were they're not able to play the spin. And I begged El Camino Willett, who was captain, if he would include me in the team for Antigua because I wanted to go back, bat in the middle, and give the team a kind of stability there. So I think that innings, I made 50-something. And I think that was one of the most crucial innings because what it did was it helped us to not succumb to Antigua. We were able to stabilize ourselves and so on.
Did you face the same fast bowler?
No, I think he had, I don't remember his name, but he's a very dark fellow, but very aggressive, very aggressive. I don't think he played many years for Anguilla because I think he played Antigua because I think he played most of his cricket in England.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. But if the name ever comes back, I'll probably talk to you about it. But
so that innings was crucial.
Well, it was crucial in Antigua that year because we had to really avoid defeat to win the competition. If Antigua beat us, then we would be, really, struggling to win.
Speaking of Antigua, I spoke to Alfred Howell about this, and he gave me his version. Were you in that team 69. With that infamous match in 69. Antigua? What really transpired in your words, Mr. Amri?
69, we had played against Montserrat, and I had gotten hit again trying to hook and got hit on my nose. I have another little blue. So I've been to the wars for Nevis, and we had gone to the finals because those days you're playing the two preliminary matches. We beat Montserrat, Antigua beat St. Kitts, and so we were in the finals. In the first innings, we played fairly well. In the second innings, Antigua had declared, and we were now chasing a substantial score. And I did not open because I said I'd been sort of put back to bat in the middle. Eugene Stapleton opened in my stead with a man, Bubba Webb. Okay. I don't know if you know that, Bubba Webb. And then Sarge at 3, Howell at 4. And I would have come at 5. But by the time, we began to really, Sergeant and Howell really took the attack to Antigua. And they had put on, I think, a large, over 100, a big partnership. And they had taken the second new ball. Antigua were forced to take the second new ball, and they really tore into it. But there was this delivery which ended in controversy, which hit Howell, and we thought had hit him outside the off stump. Now, those days you had umpires from the island and one from which was a bit of a. We thought he was hard done by. He thought to himself, and Sergeant at the other end. I don't know what he said, and I will not dare to say what he said. But I know Mr. Howell. He would have given you his version because he knew what happened, but. He decided, well, no, he was not out because he was going so well and he'd played for a number of years, and I suppose this was a good chance for him now to really go on. I think he had 82 or something like that. And so when he refused to leave, rightly or wrongly, then all hell broke loose. I came out to go to bat because the umpire sent him, and had to retreat because then there was, stones and other things being thrown, and the game ended in disarray. And we had to actually run away from Antigua.
Yeah, I heard that there was a special flight.
We had to get a special flight arranged to get out. It was really a very tense time. But I think the tension was simply because of the keenness of the competition, not because of any animosity either towards Mr. Howell or to Nevis against Antigua. I think those days we played cricket and we played it hard and we played good quality cricket. And I think it was just that the people in Antigua felt, well, listen, these guys, they have acted improperly. But it's because of that tension, that tense competition between the islands.
When did you make your breakthrough for the Leeward Islands team?
It's 1968.
Combined, maybe.
68, I played for Leewards. And I didn't make a lot of runs as an opening batsman then. That was my third year in Montserrat. But I think maybe the way I made the runs and the way I played might have impressed the selectors. I don't know. But they included me as a younger person because I think the other opening batsmen then were older people. And they felt, well, here's somebody who has a fair technique. That's what I'm saying. It's not always if you make a lot of runs, but if you look at the player and the player has sound technique, you could invest in that person. I may not have paid them off as fully as they would have liked or I would have liked, but I was included in the team. I went to St. Thomas with the team. It was Thanksgiving time in November, and made 50, again, not opening, but batting at number 5 in the second of the 2 games which were played against the St. Thomas or the BVI All-Stars. Those days, Len Harris, who was a very good player. You had Sargent, you had a good combination of players. But I batted number 5 in the second of the 2 games and made 52, against a good competition on Martin, something which we'd never done. And it was not an easy thing to play on Martin. And I think that was the beginning of whatever transpired. And then I played for the Leewards in 1969 in 2 games. I think it was 2 games. Against Guyana, Phil Blair and those guys here in St. Kitts, and Barbados in Barbados. I think Ed Atherton was a captain of the Leewards at that time. So that was the beginning. And then I think the following year, 1970, we then had the Combined Islands.
And you went straight into the Combined Islands?
Well, we had to have a trial. I don't remember what happened in the trials, but I made the Combined Islands team in 1970 and played 70, 71, 72, 73. I pulled out because I had exams at university. I used to take a term, my second term, to play cricket. So from January to April, when I should be studying my work, I was playing cricket. But I loved the game, and I got permission from my tutors to go and play. So that was it.
Your most outstanding innings for the Combined Islands or Leeward Islands, and which fast bowler you would have faced that you'll say, hey, this is probably the quickest one I've faced yet?
Well, those days, there were a lot of fast bowlers around, good quality fast bowlers. I played against some of the best. I played against
Michael
Holding here. I played, Andy would have played against Andy. I think I might have been one of Andy's first batters to face Andy. Might have been. Okay. Might have been. You have Newton Dow. You have him, players from Barbados. Hall in his latter years. You would have had him, Big Bird. You have Wayne Daniel. You had a whole range of Clark and those guys. So there were a lot of players around, good quality fast bowlers around those days. And I said we didn't have the luxury of helmets, but we took evasive action, or you got hit and you took the hit.
Are you hooked?
Are you hooked?
You did hook,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. I used to like the hook. Never really perfected it, but I played it quite a number of times.
In those days, did they have that kind of exchange between the fast bowlers and the batsmen that we see now, or was it more courteous?
No, you gave your thing. I was never really one to have any back chat. All I did was, if something happened, I would plan what I will do next time. You know, you never get into an argument with a fast bowler. You just coop him and you say, okay, you do this is what I will do. And I think it's better that way than to get into an open argument, because then the umpires, I've never wanted to really behave in that way on the field. I mean, I think maybe as a fielder, if I took a catch and the umpires denied it, you would get angry or something like that. But outside of that, on the field, yes, you're aggressive, but never involving any altercation.
Well, that's our package for this evening and indeed for the week. I am Curtis Morton, reminding you that you can watch sports if you're not fit. But to play sports requires fitness, diligence, and sacrifice. Have a good night and a great weekend.